Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of High Energy Girl. And today's amazing guest is Robert Sikes. Robert is a professional ketogenic bodybuilder, the owner of the Keto Brick. It's amazing. You guys got to try it. Also, he is the founder of Keto Savage, an awesome brand helping people to get strong and lean with using a ketogenic diet. You'll have to go check out his blog. So without further ado, let's go say hello to Robert. Hey everyone, welcome to High Energy Girl, a podcast helping women to age stronger because it is never too late to get fit, be strong, and feel sexy. I'm your host, Tracy Gluhite, health coach and personal trainer and founder of HighEnergyGirl.com. Each week, we will either have a guest interview, which will provide you encouragement or an actionable tip to help you age stronger, or I will do a solo episode. Please also join our awesome Facebook group called High Energy Girls, and I'm looking forward to see you on the inside of that group and hope you enjoy today's show. Give a woman a fish, feed her for a day. Teach a woman to fish, feed her for a lifetime. Teach a woman to fish, end world hunger. Have you ever wanted to help people improve their health journey? Have you thought about coaching people with a keto lifestyle? Would you like to become an integrative health coach? Well, the Institute for Integrative Nutrition, or IIN as we call it, is the largest nutrition school in the country. And in 2011, I graduated from their program and became a health coach. It was completely awesome. We learned over 100 different dietary theories and talk about craziness and confusion. My wish for you is that we can lock arms and create a tribe of health coaches all around the country, all around the world to spread the keto message. If this resonates with you and you would like to look into this option deeper, please go to my blog at highenergygirl.com and click on the link to the right of the homepage. Here you can grab the curriculum guide and see if it inspires you. Since I care so much about my listeners, I negotiated the very best tuition rate for you at IIN. Either you can contact them directly and give them my name, or I will introduce you to a counselor so you can decide if this is a good fit for you and your career goals. Let me know how I can support you in this coaching career opportunity. Hey, Robert, thanks so much for coming on the show today.
Hey, thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
It's been a long time, my dear. Tell me what's up. What's new and good with you?
Lots of things have been, I don't even remember. When was the last time we spoke?
Gosh.
Probably like 2 years now, I think, at least.
Has it been that long?
I believe so. A lot's happened since then. We've recently moved to our new facility here in Northwest Arkansas. So we've got all the Keto Brick production, everybody in under one roof now. So we're just trying to take over the world one step at a time.
Oh, cool. That's awesome. So tell people that may not know, what is a Keto Brick?
Yeah, so Keto Brick is something that my wife and I developed back in 2017 during my competition prep. It's basically a 1,000 calorie ketogenic meal replacement bar that we've made in-house from the very beginning. And now we ship these things all over the world. So that's pretty much what the bricks are in a nutshell. So it's basically just a high calorie ketogenic meal replacement bar.
Do you guys still just have the big ones that are 1,000 calories, or did you guys come out with small ones?
No, we still do the big ones. A lot of people melt them down and put them into little ice cube molds or silicone molds to make smaller bite-sized bricks. But we keep the production with the larger brick version.
Oh, that's a good idea, to make like the little mini cups or something.
Mm-hmm, exactly.
What's your favorite flavor?
Probably chocolate peanut butter cup. We've got some seasonal flavors in the pipeline right now that are pretty good too.
Oh, like what?
I can't tell you. It's top secret.
They're not out yet.
Yeah, they're not out yet.
Okay.
A couple more weeks though, and they should be.
So are you doing any more like competitions, or are you guys prepping for anything? Because the last I remembered was Crystal did a show.
Yeah, she competed in 2018, I want to say. I competed in 2017. That's when I earned my pro card. And then I was going to compete in 2020. And then the world fell apart with the pandemic. So all of my shows got canceled, like literally a week before I was supposed to step on stage. So I had to just kind of go back to the drawing board. And right now I'm in a building phase, but I probably won't compete again until next year, the year after.
So tell the audience, like, I know that there's a lot of rumors or just like old school ways of training and cutting, and talk about how I remember when you and Danny did those experiments, and just talk a little bit about your philosophy when it comes to building muscle and then shredding fat.
Yeah, so honestly, my training doesn't really change that much between a building and a cutting phase. I do more cardio in a cutting phase, but I don't really change my resistance training so much. The main variable that I manipulate is nutrition. So I'll be in a caloric surplus when the primary goal is to build muscle, and I'll transition to a caloric deficit when the primary goal is to lose body fat. And I stay strict ketogenic throughout both. I don't ever deviate from that. Haven't had a carb-based meal in probably 7 years now, 6 or 7 years. So basically, it's just a matter of, do I want to be in a caloric surplus and focus on building more muscle, or transition into a deficit and focus on losing body fat? But I pretty much keep a relatively high dietary fat protocol throughout either phase. Protein stays relatively high throughout both as well. And I just keep the total carbs very, very low.
So what do you say your ratio is right now? Like if you were to say, what percentage fat versus protein?
So me being in a surplus right now, I'm probably closer to a 1-to-1 ratio of protein grams to fat grams, which winds up being about a 70% of my calories coming from dietary fat. So right now I'm about 70%. Depending on where I'm at in a cutting phase, I'll sometimes be at 80% of my calories coming from fat. I'll sometimes be at the closer to that 70%. But in a building phase, in a maintenance phase, I'm usually around that 70% or so.
Okay. So, but you do, like, say, for instance, 200 grams of protein, 200 grams of fat is what you're saying.
Yeah, and that's honestly like a 67, 68% of calories coming from fat. So I'm a little bit higher on the fat percentage than the protein. But in a building phase, that 1-to-1 ratio tends to work pretty well because I'm eating so many calories now that my protein intake is still relatively high. I'm probably consuming about 200, 225 grams of protein per day in a building phase, but I'm consuming so many calories that my fat content is also incredibly high. So it's all very ketotic.
Okay. And then your carbs, what are they, like 5% just veggies and stuff?
Yeah, it's pretty much like 10, 20 grams total carbs throughout the day. Sometimes just some veggies on occasion, or the brick has a few carbs in it, but nothing too much.
So are you more carnivore then?
I don't really identify as being hardcore carnivore because I do eat the bricks, and I'll occasionally have some Brussels sprouts or salad or something like that. But if I go a day without any veggies, I don't lose any sleep over that at all.
Yeah. The only veggies I absolutely love is lettuce, because I like salad, and avocado. Like, I just love avocado.
Hmm.
But a lot of the other ones just give me a stomach ache.
Yeah, once you get more deeply adapted, it's like you don't really. I never really noticed any performance benefit from the carbs in veggies. I don't notice any improvement from a digestion standpoint. I simply have the greens on occasion to offer a change in texture and taste more so than anything.
Hmm. Yeah. I tried to do the carnivore thing and I got really kind of gaggy. Like, I just couldn't handle just eating meat all the time.
Yeah, if I was to, the carnivore is great. I think carnivore is like just a subset of keto, basically. But I'm a texture person, so by having some of the nut butters, by having the bricks, by having dark chocolate, just a few things outside of the strict carnivore realm makes the entire diet much more sustainable for me. So I am certainly not a hardcore carnivore by any means.
What would you say to a woman who wants to build a little muscle, lose a little fat with your methodology and stuff? What would you advise them to do?
Yeah, so I always encourage people to not try and simultaneously build muscle and lose body fat. You certainly can do it, but you're not really going to optimize for either if you're trying to do both at the same time, because they more or less compete for one another. In order to optimize the amount of lean muscle mass you can gain, you need to be in a caloric surplus, which is not going to bode well to losing as much fat as possible. So I would encourage people to have one priority, whether that is to build muscle or lose fat, and focus on that for a time being before cycling into the next phase. So from a muscle building standpoint, basically just eating clean foods in a caloric surplus and implementing progressive overload with your training, so that you're constantly stimulating the muscle and giving it reason to grow, and doing so for a long enough period of time that you're able to grow that lean tissue. making sure you're eating enough protein in that phase. And then when you transition into a cutting phase and you're trying to lose body fat, gradually dropping the calories so that you're not in a surplus, and basically increase the cardio slightly as needed. Ensure that you're taking in enough protein to not be in a muscle wasting standpoint, but by keeping, if you're fat adapted, by keeping that dietary fat relatively high throughout that process as well, so your hormones stay in check. Whenever you dip into a very deep deficit, your metabolism down regulates as a result of just that metabolic adaptation. Your hormones can oftentimes become dysregulated as well. So by keeping the dietary fat ratio relatively high throughout a deficit, you can mitigate a lot of those adverse effects.
Okay. So you want to choose one. So you're saying like to do either or. So either build or cut, right?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So, and you said to create a calorie surplus. How can you figure out what a calorie surplus looks like? How do you know?
Yeah, so there's a million different macro calculators and estimators online. The best way to really know with any degree of certainty is to simply track your intake consistently, and then see kind of how your body responds. For instance, when I'm trying to transition into a caloric surplus, if I'm tracking on my food intake throughout the day and my weight is holding pretty stable with the amount of exercise I'm doing, then I can feel pretty solid that I'm in some degree of maintenance. Once my weight starts trending upwards, then it's pretty evident that I'm in a caloric surplus. And that weight trending upwards could be body fat or lean muscle mass gain. Again, you want to make sure this is happening over a pretty significant period of time. You'll have daily weight fluctuations from water retention and fluctuations in that regard. So you don't want to just automatically assume you're in a surplus if you're on your cycle, for instance, and your weight goes up a bit from water fluid there. But if you're consistently gaining weight gradually over a long enough period of time to ensure that it is in fact coming from a surplus of food, then ideally that increase is coming from lean mass gain more so than body fat gain, and you can feel pretty confident that you are in a surplus.
And then how do you track your body fat? Like, I have an Aura ring.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how accurate it is. A lot of people have their Fitbits or their scales. Like, what do you think is the best way to measure your actual body fat percentage?
I've got a Aura ring as well. So the best way is honestly, the best way is to get like a biopsy done on you, but most people aren't going to want to do that. So the best way is honestly just the pictures and the measurements that you're taking. If you're looking in the mirror consistently, a picture tells 1,000 words. The DEXAs are great. The in-bodies are great. But they can be very inaccurate, especially if you're getting those tests done pretty regularly. And the primary goal is building lean mass. They don't really reflect changes in lean mass very accurately at all. So the caliper test is another good measure that you can just do at home. But I like to do a caliper every 2 weeks or so when I'm in a cutting phase, so that I can ensure that most of the weight that I'm losing is body fat. But honestly, just pictures and measurements. Like, look at yourself in the mirror, and if you're continually looking better, and you're well in tune with your body, then you can feel confident you're building more muscle or losing more body fat.
Okay. Well, I transitioned from I used to be the regular gym person, doing upper body, lower body, push, pull, or whatever, cycling throughout those. But then when COVID hit and our gym that I actually taught at, when they closed, and so I was able to find a CrossFit gym that was kind of like a little underground or whatever, so I've been able to work out there routinely. So now I've kind of switched over to CrossFit, which I love. Have you ever done CrossFit?
Yeah, I had a 3-month stint in college when I was doing CrossFit. My problem with it was I couldn't give up the bodybuilding, so I was doing both. So I would go do CrossFit class at 4:00 in the morning, and then I would do bodybuilding in the evening, and it was just too much for my body. It wasn't sustainable. I wouldn't recommend that. But for me, I gravitate more towards the bodybuilding than the CrossFit. But there's definitely a lot of good that comes from CrossFit if you're doing proper form.
Yeah, I like it because of the camaraderie, because I'm seeing gains in strength. I'm 55. I'm not going to do any bodybuilding stuff, but my gym is still making you wear my old gym is still making you wear a mask and crap. And I'm like, I am not working out in a mask. There's no way
Yeah, I couldn't
So,
do that either. I feel so fortunate because we have a gym here in our warehouse space. So I never skipped a beat with regard to training during the pandemic. But yeah, I couldn't imagine, having to only work out at home or having to wear a mask while training. Like that would just drive me crazy.
oh, totally. So, how's Crystal? What is she up to?
She is staying super busy. She's got her Lady Savage brand and business that is launched. So she's working on creating content around that, and she's also right in the middle of everything Keto Brick. I mean, she's here right now. She does a lot of our social media. She does a lot of our influencer outreach. So she's got her hand on the business in that regard for sure. We have 8 employees now, 8 full-time crew members. So we're staying busy, and she pretty much is in contact with all of them throughout the day as well. So we're just growing the business day by day.
Oh, that's so amazing. And now that keto's getting so popular, I mean, I've done show or like little quick videos where I look at keto food,
Mhm.
and show that it's really not keto. They put rice syrup and agave and all this garbage in it. What do you think about that trend?
Yeah, it's weird because it's kind of a double-edged sword. Like keto's become so popular that so many people know about it now, which is a good thing. It's gotten more exposure, but with that, you've gotten so much just disparity as to what keto is. You've got all these different versions of keto, which have kind of bastardized the ketogenic diet, in my opinion. And you've got all these crap products flooding the market to try and capitalize on the ignorant consumer. So it's been unfortunate to see that unfold for sure, but it kind of comes to the territory of things becoming more popular. So I don't know if there's any way to mitigate against that from happening, but I'm going to keep doing my part and trying to speak the truth and offer only quality.
Yeah, that's good. And the base of your guys's bricks, is it coconut oil?
Cacao butter. Yep.
Oh,
Yep.
okay.
So super high quality stearic acid. Basically, the beef suet is often hailed as the greatest source of stearic acid, but cacao butter actually has a greater quantity of stearic acid in there. And stearic acid is one of the best quality fats that you can consume. So pretty proud of the ingredients in the bricks for sure.
You want to hear a funny story? So I was going to make a new recipe. I'd never had cacao butter before. And I go to Sprouts and looking for cacao butter. I have no idea what it is. It seems like maybe it's chocolate and it's on sale. So I thought, ooh, maybe I should stock up. And I thought, well, maybe I should try it first. So I open the little thing and I take a bite of like the little disc or chunk or whatever. And I'm like,
Yeah.
like I just wanted to spit it out somewhere, right?
Yeah.
Because I had no idea what to expect. I'm like, oh God, this is gross. But your bricks I've had, they're great. So
Yeah, you definitely cacao butter by itself is pretty gross. I mean, it's pretty waxy. It's like there's not really it's got that smell of chocolate, but it doesn't have any sweetness to it. Like it's not something that you would want to just, indulge in by itself by any means.
so what is it?
What is cacao butter?
Yeah.
So basically, it like stearic acid is a very long carbon chain fat acid profile. So most like when you've got like butter, for instance, butter melts in your hands because it's got a relatively low carbon chain. Stearic acid has an 18 bond carbon chain. So the longer that carbon chain, the more shelf stable it is, which is why our bricks are pretty well shelf stable at room temperature. And what's interesting about stearic acid in particular, and I don't really know where I stand on all this research yet because it's so new. Um, Fire in a Bottle, I don't know if you're familiar with that company, but they've been doing a lot of research around this. But basically, his theory is that Brad Marshall's his name is that stearic acid creates the actual fat cells, the adipocytes in your body to become more insulin resistant. So on a macro level, as a whole, we want to become more insulin sensitive. But we want the actual fat cells to become more insulin resistant. So they're going to be less likely to soak up additional fat and become larger. His theory is that the stearic acid makes that happen so that it's less likely to soak up additional adipose tissue, basically. So a lot of people use stearic acid as a way to, basically make their fat cells more insulin resistant, so to speak. I use it more so for just the performance benefits. It's tolerated very well by the body. There's no GI distress that comes with it like there is other fats. It gives me a lot of clean energy. So it's just a really good base for the bricks to be made from.
Oh, cool. But what part of nature does the cacao butter come from? Is it from the cocoa bean or is it from coconut?
Yeah, cacao itself. Like if you look up cacao, like it's the I don't know how the actual the harvesting process takes place, but it's basically the foundation for chocolates and cacao nibs, everything from the cacao plant, basically.
Okay. Okay. Got it. Yeah. I've used it to make these like little chocolate lava cakes
Hmm.
that are pretty good. I've just put them in like little cupcake tins and that's pretty good. But I like the way you guys have it in your brick. The thing is, though, is I never thought of being able to put it into the little, like melt it down and put it into cups. That is brilliant.
Yeah, a lot of people do that. They'll just pop it in the microwave for, 20, 30 seconds, mix it up a little bit with a fork. You don't want to burn it. So 20, 30 seconds, do that, repeat that 2 or 3 times until it becomes liquefied, and then just simply pour it into little fat bomb molds or silicone cups, and then you're good to go. We did that the other day, and we put that plus a few pecans in there, plus a dollop of peanut butter, and it's pretty much delicious.
Oh, that is a good idea. You can add a little crunch to it.
Exactly.
So, how many of those bricks do you personally eat a day?
I eat one whole brick a day, along with my other food.
Okay. And then what about Crystal?
She doesn't eat a whole brick a day. She'll probably eat like a third of a brick a day.
Okay. And so when you said that when you're building, when you're bulking, you do a 1-to-1 ratio with protein and fat. When you cut, which one do you cut down?
So the cutting process is a lot more involved than people would like it to be, at least following my protocol. So I'll typically start at a higher fat ratio, like 80% of my calories coming from fat. And then I'll gradually increase protein while I simultaneously decrease dietary fat until I more or less get to that 1-to-1 ratio. And then I'll start decreasing protein as well. And basically what that does is it allows me to start at a very high fat ratio so that I just basically increase my body's efficiency at using fat as a fuel source. And then I'll figure out what my protein threshold is by increasing protein while I'm simultaneously dropping fat. And then once I establish that threshold, I start dropping protein as well, so that both my fat macros and my protein are decreasing, which is going to yield an overall drop in total calories. And that by the time I get to that phase in the prep, I'm pretty lean. And I'll start throwing in, ketogenic caloric refeed days once or twice a week, depending on how my body responds. And then I'll be stepping on stage and hopefully win my title and then reverse diet back up to a surplus.
Oh my gosh, that's so complicated. That is
It.
amazing. That's why you win, right? Because you're like into all of.
Yeah, it's I mean, if you distill everything down to its simplest form, losing body fat can be relatively straightforward, but in order to lose body fat while maximizing as much lean mass preservation as possible, not hindering your performance, keeping your hormones intact, like trying to optimize for everything while you're losing body fat, that's where it becomes a bit more tricky.
So do you think it's calories in and calories out?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely to a point for sure. But at the same time, you want to optimize hormones. Like if you're taking in fewer calories, but your hormones are totally jacked up, your body's ability to function and sustain that deficit is going to be hindered. Your ability to maintain any degree of performance is going to be hindered. You want to definitely drop calories in a deficit and in a cutting phase, but you want to certainly optimize your hormones simultaneously. You want to improve your performance wherever possible. So there's so many factors at play. A lot of people want to say it's just calories in, calories out. It's just hormones. It's just this. It's just that. But everything works in unison. So trying to really maximize potential for all variables is key.
Yeah. I don't think it's calories in and calories out. I'm with you on that because I've seen some of my clients, eat more and lose more. And then when they try to eat less, it's like their body's just like, I don't think so. Like you got to feed it,
Well, there's been this big push lately for, just chronically low intakes of, like the protein sparing modified fast push has gotten a lot of popularity. You've got so many people eating sub 1,000 calories on a regular basis. And that's certainly not going to bode well from a hormonal standpoint, from a metabolic standpoint. So if someone has a lot of weight to lose still, and they're just chronically under eating, sub 1,000 calories, they're basically shutting down all their body's, foundational principles. And you're just not going to respond well. You're going to lose more lean mass. You're not going to be able to train hard to preserve that lean mass, which is going to downregulate your metabolic rate. So there's certainly a healthier way to do it than just chronically undereating.
Yeah, totally. And then your body's like in survival mode and it's like, oh, I have to keep you alive. So it's going to hold on to all the resources, right?
Yeah. When you're in a, super steep deficit for far too long, and you're not training, your performance is not amplified, your hormones are all jacked up, your metabolism's downregulated. When you do consume foods, your body is not going to readily partition those foods towards preserving lean mass if you're not training. So it's basically not doing yourself any favors. Your body just wants to survive. And you can't sustain a chronic deficit for very long anyways. I mean, I made a post on this a while back with this popularity of protein sparing modified fast and recommendations of 600 or 700 calories. 600 or 700 calories is more food than the concentration camp victims were consuming in Nazi Germany. Like, this is just not a healthy amount of food to consume. So people need to fuel themselves accordingly.
Yeah. So what did you say about protein sparing modified fast? Because I see a lot about that and about calorie cycling. The what do they call it? Eat, stop, eat, or something.
Yeah. So my frustration with the protein sparing modified fast movement isn't necessarily so much in the actual concept. The concept can be done in a healthy manner. The problem is most people are advocating it be done in which their PSMF days are only consuming 600 or 700 calories and then returning to a baseline, but that baseline is still only 1,000 or 1,200 calories, which is still far too little for most people to consume. So if you're going to have a day that's very, very high in protein, very low in fat and carbs, that's fine. But you need to have that, counteracted with a day that is at a healthy maintenance or even a surplus, depending on what the goals are, of course. Usually people are doing this to lose body fat. But if you're constantly eating less than 1,200 calories and having several days throughout the week that are only 600 calories, you're not doing yourself any favor from a sustainable fat loss standpoint.
Yeah, because you want your weekly average to be higher. So you have to, I think you have to make up for that, right? If you do a protein sparing modified fast day.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, your weekly average needs to be a healthy average. If you're just chronically under eating all week long, then yeah, it's not going to be optimal by any means.
So what does a day in your diet look like?
Yeah, so I'm pretty much eating, it depends if I'm in a building phase or a cutting phase, but for me right now, being in a building phase, I typically wake up early, have a couple cups of coffee with some heavy cream in there at, around 5 o'clock in the morning. And then I'll have my first meal, usually around 10 or noon, somewhere in that window. That'll typically consist of, like today I had 80-20 ground beef burger patties with a tomato, some cheese, and a piece of Keto Brick, about half a brick. And then I'll go home this evening, have my second and final meal. And that will be probably a ribeye steak with the other half of that brick and maybe some yogurt this evening. But pretty simple, pretty simple.
I found yogurt that you make with half and half, and you use this L-reuteri type probiotic thing. It's from, if you check it out online, it's the wheat belly yogurt, and you make it, and the health benefits of that particular strain of probiotic has so many things. One thing you might be interested in is increased testosterone in men, smoothing of skin wrinkles, accelerated healing, bone density, deeper sleep. I mean, all kinds of stuff. So I just started making that maybe a week ago, but I just use a half a cup. I just eat like a half a cup a day and then put like a tablespoon of my favorite protein powder in there, mostly for flavor. And plus I'm trying to get more protein in. But yeah, check it out. It's really, really good. Even my husband likes it, but it's got a lot of health benefits.
Yeah, I have Crystal has all kind of digestive issues, or that's why she went keto to resolve those. And one of her go-tos has been just a serving of yogurt in the evenings, because it's tolerated very well by the digestive tract. It doesn't cause any issues there. So she's become a bit of a yogurt connoisseur over the past few years. So I'll definitely check that out.
Yeah, it's easy to make. It takes 36 hours. So it's fermented a lot longer than like your store-bought yogurts.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually bought a yogurt maker for it so it could stay consistently at 100 degrees. And I'll send you the link. Actually, can you see the chat? Because I could probably copy and paste it and put it in the chat so you can grab it.
We just got a yogurt maker, so I'll have to try this for sure.
Oh, cool. Wait, did that copy? Yeah. Wait, no. Shoot, Z. Hold on one second. Let me get it for you. But the health benefits are like massive. So I do remember she had digestive issues and that's what she went keto for. Okay. So I have lots of questions for you. So another question is, okay, for me, I weigh between 140, 145. How many grams of protein would you recommend me eat?
Are you trying to build more muscle?
I don't care about like hypertrophy and getting buffed and stuff like you to compete. I just want to get stronger. Like this week at our gym was like PR week. So my favorite lift is a deadlift. I hit 230,
nice.
Which, I was happy with that. So I just want to get stronger for fun. So
yeah, if you're consuming between 145, 175 grams of protein a day, you should be totally fine from a protein standpoint. That's going to give you plenty of protein to fuel muscle growth and recovery. If you start going, if you're north of 200, you're probably going to start having some digestive issues, some brain fog. It's not going to be optimal from a fat adaptation keto standpoint. If you go any lower than 120, 100, you can probably maintain the muscle you've built just fine, but you're probably not going to be optimized for building any more lean tissue. So I would probably stay somewhere between that 140, 175 range.
Wow. Gosh, it's so hard for me to eat that much protein. So hard. What does Crystal do to eat more? What is her favorite source to increase that? Because to me, I get full and then I don't even want to drink my water.
So Crystal she's kind of weird. She doesn't like a lot of steaks and red meat. She likes leaner cuts. Like she loves chicken. So she'll eat some chicken. She also does that yogurt, which has quite a bit of protein in there. She'll have a protein powder in that yogurt oftentimes. But she gets quite a bit of protein just through her nutritional. I think she's probably around 140 grams of protein herself. So yeah, it's just getting the food in. Fish, if you like fish, would be a great source for protein because that doesn't really cause any digestive issues for most people. It's absorbed pretty well and pretty lean all in all.
Yeah, I love fish. I love it. And I live in California. So I go to the beach once a week. And so I usually go to the fish market on the wharf.
Nice.
So I can get fresh fish. So is she going to do any more shows? Is a little Sikes baby coming anytime? And tell me when your show is.
So she doesn't have any shows lined up. I don't have any shows lined up either. We'll probably have a baby Savage at some point, that may be in the cards, who knows? But right now I'm probably just going to focus on building as much lean mass as I can with the time being, and then probably transition into a cutting phase end of next year. We've had so much chaos with the business moving, that I kind of want to just let that, more or less stabilize, get even keel, then focus on building, then focus on cutting. There's a bunch of exciting things in the pipeline right now. I'm working on a book, so that's almost written. I've been writing that for like 2 years now, so it's a long time coming on that.
Oh, what's your book about?
It's all about ketogenic bodybuilding, specifically competition prep with a ketogenic approach. So basically, if anybody wants to compete following a ketogenic diet, they've got pretty much everything laid out for them there.
Oh my gosh, when's it going to come out, Robert?
It's slated for the end of January currently. So I've pretty much submitted the manuscript to the editor last week. I've got a few more finishing touches on the text itself. And then I've got to do all the, editing, the, graphics and things of that nature, but getting closer for sure.
Oh, how cool. So are you going to put pictures, like when you say graphics, of you guys and stuff?
Yeah, it'll be graphics, kind of like graphs and charts to kind of illustrate some of the concepts from a nutritional standpoint. I'll probably have some graphics in there regarding proper posing technique, proper training technique, things of that nature.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited for you. That is fantastic. Takes
Yeah,
a
it'll be
long
good.
time to write a book.
It is. I mean, it's I've been chipping away at it day by day by day. But yeah, it's not something that you can just throw together in a few months by any means.
Yeah, for sure. I was going to start working on a book to help women over 50
Mhm.
age stronger and healthier instead of sicker and weaker. But I just haven't started. Like, it's just that first, like, sitting down and getting started.
That's the hardest part. What really helped me is I woke up every day and committed to writing at least 500 words a day. No matter what happens, as long as I get 500 words before I start checking emails, before I start doing anything on social media, just knock out 500 words. Even if those 500 words are terrible and I can go back and totally change them later, just simply getting the momentum built up with at least 500 words a day.
And how long would that take you about?
I mean, right now, throughout the day, I could throw together 500 words in, 20 minutes. Sometimes if I'm doing something more involved, it would take, an hour and a half, depending on how involved the topic matter is. But right now the book's over 100,000 words. It's getting bigger and bigger.
So how many pages is it?
Right now with just the text, it's like 350.
Holy cow. It's like the ketogenic Bible.
It's becoming quite the beast of a book for sure.
Oh, that's so cool. Well, good for you. I can't wait to see it. That'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah. I'll get you a copy for sure.
So how can people find you, my dear?
Yeah, so Keto Savage, pretty much, if they type ketosavage.com in, they'll find me. That links out to the bricks, which is ketobrick.com. I'm on social as Keto Savage. So anything and all things Keto Savage.
And what about Crystal? What's her website again? We'll link to her too. You got to have her come on my show. I want to talk to her again.
Yeah,
It's been a
for
while.
sure. She'd love to. So Lady Savage for her. So the Lady Savage on social, ladysavage.com on the website. Yeah, she's my ride or die for sure.
I remember watching your guys' YouTube videos when she was going through her cut and everything, and it was super fun. You guys are so adorable together. So
yeah, she's my best friend. She's an angel.
oh, I love it. I've been married 31 years and I can honestly say my husband's my best friend. So
That should be. That's awesome.
good for you. Well, Robert, awesome. I'm super excited to talk to you. You guys are both just such dolls. And I'm so happy that your business is doing well and that your book is going to be here before we know it.
Yeah. I appreciate the opportunity to jump on here and catch up with you again. Always a pleasure, Tracy. If there's ever anything you need from me, just let me know.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, that was an awesome show. Second time he's been on, you might want to go catch the first one. And for complete show notes, check out highenergygirl.com/show, where we will have a link to the Keto Brick so you can order the new fall flavors, which are coming out soon. All right, you guys, make it a great day. This podcast contains the opinion and thoughts of its host and guests. It is intended to provide helpful and informative material on the subjects covered. All statements made on the podcast have not been evaluated by the FDA and are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent disease. If the listener requires professional assistance or advice, please contact your personal medical doctor. Both host and guest specifically disclaim any responsibility for any liability, loss, or risk, personal or otherwise, which is incurred as a consequence directly or indirectly of the use and application of any of the contents of these episodes. Like I said, this is my opinion and I could be wrong.